What is going on, y'all? It's the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz, Austin, for episode 37 of Against the Blitz. And we're here with another Summit episode. We might as well just call this the Summit Podcast because we just keep pounding out these positional-esque videos. And they're fun. Like, what else is there to say? What else is there to fucking talk about mid-May, almost June? Like, there ain't shit to talk about. So why not just rip off a bunch of lists, a bunch of top 5 rankings? It's fun.
Yeah, and I love defense so much because fantasy football has ruined the sport. I say one guy's a little overrated, and people are bringing up tight end receptions from like 2013 trying to argue with me. Like on defense, I can just say, watch the tape. Just watch the tape, and no one can argue with me. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy we're at defense now.
Yes, this definitely requires a lot more brain power than the
Oh
receivers,
my.
or the quarterback, or the running back. So you definitely have to do some digging to get some of the names that we have for our categories here. And I had fun doing so. So I'm excited to give some recognition and tear some people down that might not have deserved it. But of course, as we usually do, we start by building our top player or our best ideal player. And for the edge rushers, we have the following attributes. We have frame, pass rush technique, power, bend, finishing, run defense, athleticism, dog, and drip. Those are our categories. I want to hear what your guy looks like.
What he looks like? Well, he's gonna look like Daniil Hunter, the most jacked 6'6" long-armed defensive end in the NFL. He will pass rush like Trey Hendrickson. We did a whole deep dive on how he rushes, and like the hand fighting is second to none. So we're stealing that from him. The power we're getting from Myles Garrett, who is the strongest fucking dude in the NFL. It's terrifying. What else was next? I threw Bend on there. We got Will McDonald from the Jets. He's like a tall drink of water, but he is the most flexible edge rusher there is in the class. Run defense, I went with TJ Watt, who kind of turned from like a premier pass rusher into like a premier run defender in like the course of a season. So I'll take that. Athleticism, I picked Will Anderson. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen him like get that pick six in college, but it was like he runs like he's a safety, but he just happens to be like 250 and really strong. And am I missing one?
Dog and drip.
Yeah, dog. I picked Max Crosby. I mean, like freaking Gardner Minshew still thinks about the insults that Max Crosby said to him like 2 years ago. So I think it does work. And then drip, I put Kayvon Thibodeau, who might not be as good as people thought, but he definitely looks like it. Just not on paper.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We have a lot of similarities actually, and on some of them that I didn't think we would. So for frame, I went with Greg Rousseau. That guy is just a long, lengthy, big, scary alien. Like he probably amongst edge rushers is one of the most toolsy. I hate that word.
Toolsy?
Yeah, yeah, I just can never say it. Toolsy edge rushers, and that's Brandon Bean's type of player. But he's like 6'6", 266 right now. I don't know if that's his active height and weight, but that's scary. I went for power. I took Jared Verse. That guy is just pure. He loves his bull rush. That guy will run straight at an offensive tackle, and he is strong. He wins with the bull rush pretty often, and I know that Myles Garrett's a popular pick for that one, but I took him for bend, actually. For a guy his size to be able to get around the arc and kind of flex like underneath the arms of offensive tackle sometimes, it's just, relatively speaking, a guy his size shouldn't be able to do that. So it might not be as bendy as maybe some other guys you'd put here, but for someone his size is impeccable. So for pass rush technique, I also went with Trey Hendrickson. I think there are a lot of things that Trey Hendrickson gets shit for that he's not as good at compared to a lot of other top edge rushers. But when it comes to purely rushing the passer, being technically sound, I think he's the best at it. For finishing, I went with TJ Watt for this one. I do think if there's one thing TJ Watt still does as a pass rusher is when the moment is big and he needs to make a play at the end of a game, even if he didn't do anything for the last 58 minutes, he will on that true pass set rip through the B gap or wherever he's coming from, and he will get the quarterback. So he does get credit for that. I went with Max Crosby for run defense. I feel like him and TJ Watt this season almost kind of flip-flopped. Like what they were like. Max Crosby has always been looked at as one of the best run defenders, and TJ Watt's been one of the best pass rushers. And not that those things have changed necessarily, but this year Max Crosby was, I think, a better pass rusher than run defender, and vice versa for TJ Watt. Athleticism, I went with Micah Parsons. This guy had to make it on here somewhere, and he's done almost everything you can think of when it comes to the defensive front. Dog, I went with Khalil Mack. For him to be playing at such a high level for so long is just insane. His come up was just remarkable too. Like, he's had to have been a dog for so long to be as good as he's gotten for as long as he's been at the NFL level. And drip, the last category. I took Tyree Wilson for drip.
I understand that.
I saw a picture of him in like the black Raiders jersey with the single digit number and a dark tinted visor. And it was one of those helmets that was like, they don't have like the bars around it. I don't know what it's called, but the face mask is just kind of sleek. It looks like a race car helmet almost.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he was wearing that and he looked fucking sick. So I'm like, you know what? That's my guy for drip.
If I could pick drip from college, Khalil Mack's Buffalo drip was awesome. I don't know if you remember, like he had like the full like Peyton Hillis, Ray Lewis cage, like back when he fucked up Ohio State pretty good. That was one of the best games I ever watched from a prospect, and he looked good doing it. So yeah, I'll change my answer to Buffalo Khalil Mack.
That's good. Yeah, of course. Me being just 15 minutes away from Khalil Mack, where he used to play, I know all too well. What category should we get into next? We have a few. We have overrated, underrated, as always, breakout, regression. What are you feeling?
I think we should get into the overrated first. Get that out of the way. I hate doing overrated, but it does apply to edge rushers more than the previous positions, honestly. Like, there were a few names that I did feel pretty confident about.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is something I've pushed agendas for. There are players for edge rushers that I've pushed agendas for overrated wise in the past. So this one was kind of seamless for me.
Really?
Yes.
I can only think of one for you, really. So I actually am pretty intrigued. I think we do share that same one, though.
Yes, I'm sure he'll pop up somewhere. But once I say a couple of them, you'll probably remember I've said one or two things before.
Yeah.
Well, my top overrated player, shoot me now, Pittsburgh. TJ Watt has to be on here.
Woo.
There's never been a universe where he's been better than Myles Garrett ever. I still cannot believe that people believe that was ever a conversation. And this past season, he wasn't even good. Like, in the nicest way possible. He was a good run defender, but he was not this premier world-class edge rusher that he's been, let's say, over the past few years. So he's just not as good as Myles Garrett, especially in the context of that conversation. Overrated. Next, I have Brian Burns. I have talked about this briefly before. I cannot believe the Giants paid him and traded for him. As much as I gave up to get him at that time, was making him like the top paid edge rusher at the top. Like, I don't know. I don't even think the guy's like a top 15 edge rusher, to be honest with you. He like borders that mark, which is not bad, of course, but Giants fans, of course, too, will throw him in the top 10, top 12. It's just like, there are so many names, especially in that early teens range, that all kind of fall in the same pool.
After that payday, too, Jesus, people talked about him like he was like top 10 easily because he got paid like it, but he hasn't produced like it.
No,
ever. Like, literally never.
And we talked about it before, too. He wasn't even the best defensive lineman on his team.
No.
So when he was with the Panthers, and still isn't.
He might not be the best pass rusher on his team after getting Abdul Carter.
Yeah, for real. Next, I do have Nick Bonito. I think Nick Bonito had a great season. I don't think Nick Bonito belongs in any sort of top 10 conversations at all. Like, I think people see, oh, how many sacks Nick Bonito had and how great of a season he had with the Denver defensive line, one of the best defensive units. Like, yeah, as a collective, they were great. Does that mean Nick Bonito individually deserves to be thrown into those conversations? Absolutely not. It's one of those things where I feel like people forget how many good edge rushers there are. And just because one of them had a good season, they automatically get tossed in that bucket. And that's not the case.
Right.
My next one is Trayvon Walker. I've talked about this briefly too. I see his development. I think he is going to be a very good starter for a long time. Although he still was the by far the worst pick to make at the first overall spot when Aiden Hutchinson was on the board. There's no denying that. And I've seen people try to take the angle of, oh, he's coming along. He's not, he's developing. He's going to be good, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't change the fact that it was the wrong pick. No ifs, ands, buts about it.
I still do think he's actually pretty good, but
yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson, spoiler, is one of the best defenders in the NFL when healthy. So not good. Not a good look.
Yeah, especially when Walker's not even the best edge rusher on his team, which isn't a bad thing. But
no.
And my final overrated edge rusher is going to be Montez Sweat. I think there was this narrative that he went to Chicago and completely changed the defensive outlook and made it so much better. He definitely helped, but there was this narrative throughout the season that defined when he was acquired as the time that the Bears really took this turning point defensively. I think that was more just a coincidence. This is, more than anything. I think he helped, but individually speaking, in a vacuum, kind of like Brian Burns, this is not a guy I'm throwing in a top 15 edge rusher conversation, to be honest. No. So how could I sit here and say that he was the reason that the Bears defense suddenly turned around? What about that secondary? What about the linebacker duo that they have?
Yeah.
They had so many pieces. And Eberflus, as much of a moron as he is in every other aspect of being a head coach, being a defensive mind, he was respectable at, and that's why he was in the position.
He's really good at it.
He was in. So,
yeah,
I think he got propped up for something. I don't think he did alone.
No. I think that he was just the last piece of the puzzle they needed, because the edge rushers they had out there were just pitiful. So they put in, a pretty solid above average one. They're going to look a lot better because that's all they needed left. But it doesn't mean that he resurrected their season and resurrected their defense. He was just the last piece they needed.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I did put Montez Sweat on there. And my only note was he's just not impactful enough. For how much love he gets as a top 15 edge rusher in the NFL. He doesn't have the numbers for it either. You can't even point to that. He does not get 10 sacks ever. I don't think he even has. Maybe one time. I also shared Brian Burns with you there. He's only had over 10 sacks one time since entering the NFL in 2019. I just don't know how you can be a premier pass rusher and only have over 10 sacks one time. And he's a fine run defender, but that's only a new thing for him. He used to be really bad at it. So I'm not seeing it there. I have another Sweat. I have Josh Sweat, formerly a Philadelphia Eagle, now an Arizona Cardinal. I think he flew under the radar and actually was pretty underrated in Philly. But after his Super Bowl performance and how much everyone put him on a pedestal in free agency, they acted like he was the premier best edge rusher available. Have to get him. Spend all your money on Josh Sweat because he'll fix your defense. I just don't think he comes into Arizona and does really much more than what he's been, which is 8 sacks and is a decent rotational piece. I hate to do it, but I did put Joey Bosa on there. Because I think there was so much media coverage about where he was going, because people do still really think that he's a premier player. And people know he's not top 10 anymore, but I just don't think he's even really close to that level anymore. Unfortunately, it's just injuries. And then I also had Rashawn Gary. He's kind of a guy that people have had hopes for such a long time, but he's so inconsistent and he always disappears when they need him most. And to me, that's the absolute worst thing you can be as an edge rusher, is just good against bad tackles and then you disappear in big games. You can't pay someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have been in this endless warp of trying to find an edge rusher that will actually be a consistent game changer, and they haven't been able to find one. And Rashawn Gary is probably the best right now, which is not good.
He's a good player. Like he's absolutely probably even still worth a first round pick they put on him. It's just like they need something else. And then they got Lucas Van Ness for some reason in the middle first round too. They just keep doing this over and over again. And Rashawn Gary just hasn't taken the next step. Like he developed well. He was a project and developed, and then he just never did anything past that once his D-line coach left.
Yeah, and speaking of Joey Bosa too, he's already hurt. So
yeah, right. I didn't even know that till this morning, and I was trying to look up Joey Bosa numbers from the last few years to make myself look not dumb. And I was like, oh yeah, out. Like it kind of indefinitely. Like they don't really have a timetable on it. They're just like he'll come back when he comes back.
Yeah, but he's just out for the entire spring, casually calf strain. Okay, like,
but didn't Ogunjobi and Hoyt also get suspended?
Yeah,
like for like 6 games.
Yeah, 3 of the acquisitions that the Bills have a chance of probably not playing in the first week, and 2 of them we already know won't. But who knows what's going to happen with Bosa? Like this is how it works with players like Joey Bosa. They get one injury, one perceivably small injury, and then it nags. Or it just doesn't seem to go away. And he's always questionable. Or there's always something that's keeping him on the field, but not playing a full workload. Like, there's just always something holding him back. And it's the worst kind of thing to have on your team because as a fucking Bills fan, you need an edge rusher to get a fucking sack in the biggest moment that you can ask for it. And then they go out and they cheaped out. This is how I view it. They cheaped out going for a big name to make it look like they made a big splash and went with Joey Bosa.
I do like the Landon Jackson pick a lot more now. Before I was kind of iffy on it, where I was like, he's like your like fourth string edge rusher. Like he'll never play behind Hoyt and Bosa. But now one suspended and one is probably just going to have a calf injury throughout the entire year that lingers. So it might actually be a pretty good pick, but he'll never be anything more than him just slapping the pads and like the worst video of all time. For Landon Jackson. It was so bad.
I feel bad for him. Like
I do too.
I didn't even know. I remember I stopped watching the draft at the time we picked him. I think that was the second or that was the third round.
It was a third round, yeah.
And I remember we got off and I was just like sitting on my couch eating food, and you sent me a video of Landon Jackson without any context, and I knew. I'm like, fuck, I knew it. Like I knew exactly what you meant. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this revamped Bills defensive line looks like when they're all playing. It's just a matter of getting them all there. So
you get more Epinesa. Yay.
Yep, more Epinesa's right. And I guess I'm just glad Von Miller's gone. That saga's over.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he even played okay last year, but the year before was tough. Like when he actually had to play a full season and be relied upon. Oh, Jesus. I mean, they paid Greg Rousseau at least, but
yeah,
that was even a pretty penny.
Yeah, that was definitely a projection-based payday.
So was Terrell Bernard too. Like they are just out here like praying that these guys just keep developing and becoming worth the money, which is that's a fair business model, but it's risky as hell.
Yeah,
like, really risky.
Bernard, I was comfortable with the Bernard payment. Rousseau, I'll save my thoughts for Rousseau because I have some later on, but I think Bernard in his own right will end up paying off, especially just playing with Matt Milano. That's an experienced linebacker room. So I think he's on his way to being the next core of that defense. But we'll go into underrated now.
I like this better.
Me too.
Feels way better. Yeah.
And there are some guys on here that I'm excited to talk about. So my criteria for this to kind of differentiate my underrated from breakout candidates, I have mostly guys on here that I think are underrated, but we probably have seen the best of. Like they're still very good players, but I think sometimes people throw underrated players and breakout players in the same kind of tier. It's like, oh, they could get better, or they're on the cusp of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of these guys I think are as good as they're probably going to get, or we've seen their peak, and they're underrated for that.
Okay.
So my first guy is the only one that's an exception to that rule is Nick Herbig in Pittsburgh. He had 7 sacks. He was a very rotational piece in Pittsburgh. They, of course, have so many guys that they have rushing the passer and playing on the defensive front. And he had 7 sacks in what I would say a relatively limited workload, which is pretty impressive for a second-year player. So you can even classify that as a breakout already, but I think there is certainly more to come once maybe TJ Watt is on his way out. Whenever that happens, he will probably slide right in. So he is my only one that doesn't apply to the rest of the bullshit. My first true underrated player is Jonathan Cooper in Denver. Everyone talks about Nick Bonino. Everyone talks about Zach Allen. No one talks about Jonathan Cooper. Like, I guarantee you most people don't even know that Jonathan Cooper is a fucking Denver Bronco.
It's because it's a boring name. I'm telling you, there's something, and he doesn't look that, like, he just looks boring. And he plays for Denver and no one cares. But Nick Bonito, that's a sick name. He spells it with just N-I-K. Like there's something to that. He sounds Italian. Like, there's something really interesting there. But Jonathan Cooper is the most boring sounding football player there is.
Yes.
So literally no one cares. But he actually was really good.
Yes, he was. He was second on the team in pressures. He had the second most sacks. He had the highest pass rush win rate, per PFF at least, amongst edge rushers on the Broncos, and arguably was their best run defender. So he deserves way more credit. And this is part of the reason why I feel like Nick Bonito is overrated, is because he's getting so much of the spotlight, and even Zach Allen to an extent, they're getting so much of the spotlight for a collective effort. And Jonathan Cooper doesn't get any of it. So it's time to respect Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. I'm sorry. Next, I kind of regretted putting him on here after I did it, but I'm going to ride with it because I love him. George Karlaftis.
Yeah.
I think we've seen the best of George Karlaftis. I think George Karlaftis is probably one of the many pieces of the Steve Spagnuolo formula that will just probably, if he ever goes somewhere else, will probably fizzle into non-existence. But he, for the Chiefs, especially in the postseason, was very good. Like, he was a game record to an extent. And I'm not sure if we're going to see much more from George Karlaftis than what we saw last year. But if he's that player consistently, I think that's a pretty good play. And I don't even know if
he's pretty young. Like, he's probably like 24, 25. Like, there's still plenty of time for him to kind of find a little bit more in him.
I think so. I just feel like he's limited, like, physically.
He's limited athletically. So. Like, he does, like, almost like Jack Sawyer, how people kind of talked about him being limited. Karlaftis is just bigger and better, but like in the same way where he's just a little bit limited in like what his body will let him do.
Yes, right, exactly. And I'm just not sure there's much more room for growth in that respect. But he's definitely their best edge rusher outside of Chris Jones. So,
yes.
Speaking of Greg Rousseau, I do have him on this list as well. I think he had a silent breakout. I want to say breakout lightly, but it was definitely his best season in 2024. He was top 10 in pressures. His size, sometimes I do wish he played with more power and he actually used his size to translate into strength a little bit more than I feel like he does. Like, at times he almost strikes me as like a finesse guy to some extent.
He's too big for that.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Like, we need more power from Rousseau. Like, we need him to really bully people. And I feel like there are games where he does do that. And it's like, holy shit, finally he's playing like Groot. And there are other games it's like, where it's Greg Rousseau blowing up a play in the backfield. Like, we don't really see much of that from him. But he does a lot of things well, too. He uses his length well to seal edges. He's very good run defending. So there are a lot of things he does great. This is where that whole like concept of I'm not sure if we'll see more from him comes in. I think this is the 2024 version of Rousseau is probably closer to the best version of him, which is fine.
It was good. Like,
it was good.
Like Greg Rousseau can be a starting defensive end on a Super Bowl winning team. He can be. He's in that Karlaftis range where it's like they're not special, but they're really good and they'll make plays when you need them.
Yes.
And that's like, I mean, you pay people like that. You need that.
Right.
So I do agree. I don't think he gets enough love for like still having a pretty high ceiling left, I think there is a chance he can still hit that.
I hope so. Maybe I'm just a pessimistic Bills fan.
I mean, he's 25 years old.
Yes.
He just turned 25. Like, especially for someone that's kind of like a project in quotes, like he still has a little bit of room left, I think.
Yeah. It just maybe I'm just scarred because this is just one of Brandon Beane's classic Toolsy picks, like we were saying, and I don't know, it gives me like Tremaine Edmond vibes all over again. It's like it just seems like there's this potential for so much. He's so young. He's been so young for so long, and there's just so much limitless potential. It's just like he's good. He's definitely better than I think Edmonds was at the time that they decided to let him walk. And of course, we paid Russo.
Got paid a bazillion dollars for Edmonds.
Yes,
in Chicago.
So glad we didn't do that. But
yeah,
it's kind of reminiscent. And my last underrated player is Yaya Diaby of Tampa. He is, he had 65 pressures, only 6 sacks, but he was a constant disruptor. Probably he was the most constant disruptor in Tampa. I've talked about them being one of those defenses where a lot of their pressures are schematic. Todd Bowles is always sending heat at opposing quarterbacks, but I think Yaya Diaby in a vacuum does a lot of things very well, and he's their best run defender, edgewise speaking.
Yeah, he's their only disruptor, really. Like, they don't. It's why? Because they won't let Jose Ramirez in. They refuse. They're like, we love Anthony Nelson. Like, they love all these stupid people, but they need to let Jose Ramirez play.
Anthony. Okay. Yeah. So I think Yaya Diaby deserves some love too, and it's another. I think another case where just because of Tampa's defense, I think you just think of Tampa's defense and you just think they're good. Whereas like you think of the Dallas defense, and you're like, well, they're not good, but they have Micah Parsons, if that makes sense. So you kind of get taxed because of your defensive unit being good.
Yeah, there's no difference. Micah Parsons and Yaya Diaby are the exact same player. You heard it here. You heard it here.
Whatever.
Jose Ramirez could get right in there too.
Jose Ramirez.
I attach on to like NFL edge draft prospects that I can never let go of. Like Mo Kamara in Miami, I will never let go of. He's been in the league for like a year. Like I still have time. Same with Ramirez. He was like a rookie last year, but I still have time. Jeez, yeah. Tampa Bay. I shared 2 of those guys. I shared Yaya Diaby and I shared Jonathan Cooper on my list for the exact same reasons. And both of them, like, they're still fairly young. Yaya's only 25 years old. And he's a blur. Like, you see like this big, like, bowling ball, 260 pounds. Like, you think he's kind of slow, but he's probably their fastest edge rusher and probably their fastest linebacker. Like, he can absolutely move. I would take him in a foot race over Levante David today.
Yeah.
He can move. Like, he could move. And then Jonathan Cooper for the exact same reasons. Like, he had 10.5 sacks, credit to him. Really good run D. 61 pressures is pretty wild for someone that no one cares about. Everyone's just like, 61 pressures, yeah, but he's Jonathan Cooper. Like, I don't care. You should care about Jonathan Cooper. He's pretty good. I also had a guy that I feel like I kept sleeping on all my lists, Jonathan Grenard. He's another one where people are like, oh, he's just a part of, he's part of the system over there. Like, everyone there will produce. But he produced in Houston, too, back when, like, no one else really was. So it is pretty important to note that Grenard's, like, he's had 12-plus sacks in back-to-back years on 2 different teams. And he was actually, I think I skipped it, but I meant to do finishing also for the Build Your Own. I had Grenard for finishing. Because the second he's even within, like, sniffing distance of a quarterback, he contorts his body and wraps him up every single time. It's actually terrifying. Like, that's the scariest sight to see. Like, he'll bend backwards and, like, he'll find his way to get his mitts on you, and it's freaky. This is a weird one because he's not really that underrated, but he's starting to get there in certain conversations. But Alex Highsmith, I think a lot of people only view him as, like, a Steeler merchant. They're like, he wouldn't be as good as he is if he wasn't on the Steelers. Like, if he didn't play next to TJ Watt or next to Cam Hayward, he wouldn't be good. But he actually is, like, a freaky run defender. Like, people don't realize he's, like, not only does he have good production usually, but, like, he's also a freaky run defender. He can stay on the field on all 3 downs. Like, there's no reason to put Nick Herbig in. Get that bum out of here. Highsmith can play every down. Actually, you can play Herbig over Watt. That's cool.
Yeah.
Highsmith needs to play. And especially, like, he came from Charlotte University. Like, no one cares about Charlotte University. That's why it's also partially cool. And then my favorite, I put Malcolm Kuntz on here.
Okay.
Part of the reason why Tyree Wilson, your drip merchant, hasn't broken out yet because Malcolm Kuntz and Max Crosby are a good enough edge rusher duo to get by with. Kuntz is like, he was kind of viewed as a tweener because he's only like 245. Like, he's not that big. He's like 6'2", but he's a freaky athlete. And he kind of like, he has the movement skills of like a safety, but just happens to be pretty darn big for a safety. So he's an edge rusher at 245, and he had 8 sacks last year, which no one really knew about because it's Malcolm Kuntz and no one cares. And also no one cares about the Raiders, which is partially why no one cares. But like, it was pretty damn impressive to see what he did last year and like his first real NFL playing time.
I like that one a lot, Malcolm Kuntz, because there's another guy, Raiders related, that I want to talk about later. But he went from being like, was he drafted by Vegas?
I think so.
I think so.
Another,
like he wasn't relevant. Let's put it that way.
No, another Buffalo guy. See, like Buffalo is just producing out here.
That's right. Fuck, I forgot that he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
There's a lot of Buffalo guys these days.
They somehow end up in Vegas.
Yeah. We got to send Jarrett Patterson down there too. Maybe he can break out finally.
Jarrett Patterson. He was last with the Commanders, right? Or is he somewhere else now?
Who cares? I don't know where.
That was the last time.
I'll never forget the Kent State game. That's all I know. Where he ran for like 500 yards and like
Literally.
7 touchdowns against Kent State. Yeah.
And they did not let him. Wasn't there a record he was about to break and they like didn't put him in?
It was like Samaje Perine's record. Yeah.
What the fuck? That record is Samaje Perine holding?
The all-time single game rushing record in college football.
That's crazy.
It was Melvin Gordon, and then Perine broke it like a week later.
Wow,
which was sad.
Good for Perine, I guess. I didn't know he was like that.
He's very much like that, unless he's in the Super Bowl.
Yes. Right. We'll go to next. We'll do our. Let's do our breakout candidates. I'm like itching to kind of talk about these guys. But I will let you take down this one because I've been going first the last couple categories.
I've talked about this guy a million times. My boy Latu from the Colts. He finally has the defensive coordinator that let Trey Hendrickson loose, and he plays just like Trey Hendrickson. Like, I think Latu is one of the most skilled pass rushers in the NFL today. It's just a matter of opportunity because he's been hurt plenty of times in his career. He just needs to stay on the field. But he absolutely has potential to be a 15-sack guy, and I think he does it pretty soon. I also put my draft darling, Chop Robinson. People hated this guy for some reason, but I don't know why. He went to Penn State, 1. That always works. Number 2 has a really cool name, Chop. That's so cool. How would he not work out? And he has already. Like, he was extremely impressive in pretty limited snaps last year for Miami, so excited about him. I do still want Mo Kamara to play, but if it's at the expense of Chop Robinson, I don't want that. I have a guy that I always liked as a developmental guy, Keon White. And he did slightly break out last year, but he still didn't put up the numbers of somebody that really broke out. So I do think on a team with a little bit of extra help, like they brought in Milton Williams, they brought in the best linebacker in the NFL, Robert Spillane. There's a whole lot of different stuff that like I think will really help him break out. I also have Nolan Smith from the Eagles, who's finally getting his chance to like be a full-time starter as opposed to just coming in on random downs like he has been. But the playoffs gave us an insight into like what it might look like if Nolan Smith plays like a heavy snap share, and it was terrifying. Like, he was arguably their best defender in the playoffs. And then lastly, Joseph Osai, a little biased, but I think that he's just a better player than Myles Murphy and Shamar Stewart. He showed out last year. He was a lot more productive than people really thought he was, considering he never played because Lou Anarumo loves Sam Hubbard. But when Osai did play, he was significantly better than Hubbard and was reasonably productive for how little he played. But I do think he fits the new scheme extremely well.
I like it. They're going to need him to break out.
They do. They do.
They're really in a pinch with potential. They have potential, but not.
Yeah, they have 3 athletic freaks at edge rusher across from Hendrickson. Just hit on one and they're good.
Right. Yeah.
Just keep doing it until you hit on one.
I like that. I do share a couple names in common as well. My breakouts were Nolan Smith makes my list as well. He didn't get, he didn't start the season getting opportunity, but of course, once he started to work his way into the fold, they kept him on the field. And he was like a B. He reminds me of a B that just won't go away. Like, just fuck off, Nolan Smith.
And he's small.
Annoying.
Like he's
Yes.
tiny. He's so
Yes.
little, but he's so quick and super annoying.
Yes, he darts around. He gets like guys like that too. Usually like granted, playing in Philadelphia, the amount of interior pressure that they were getting probably helped that, but he was wrecking games in the postseason, like you said. So once he gets a full workload, a full off season as a starter, I'm excited to see what Nolan Smith looks like this year.
Mhm.
Chop Robinson was also another guy that I shared with you. He has a real opportunity to be their best edge rusher this year with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips coming off of pretty bad knee injuries. So they're going to need someone to really step up and be that guy. And I think Chop can be that. And I think Chop, not only is his name sweet, but his drip at Penn State was so basic, but it just looked it just looked so clean. Like the 44, the blue and white pants looked so old school. It was so sick.
I think people actually cared about that. Like people liked Dallas Turner better because they thought he looked cooler, but he was never a better player. I don't understand where it came from, but
yeah,
the Chop Robinson haters are in shambles, and I love it.
I think this year he does have a breakout season. My next player is Will McDonald in New York. He had 11 sacks this year, 61 pressures. They really don't have a premier edge rusher right now. Like their only hope kind of is Will McDonald right now. But I do think as long as Quinnen Williams can continue to be a force on the inside, he can build on the season he had last year. Kind of a similar story with Kayvon Thibodeau, who no one really likes. I think everyone hates Kayvon Thibodeau, actually. Like the Giants, I think the Giants fans probably like want him off the
team. I think they hate his personality too. Like,
yes,
I don't think people like him at all. Like his play on the field, his personality. Like, I think they're just tired of him entirely.
Yes, I think he is like the most hated man on the New York Giants roster, even when Daniel Jones was there. So although I do think last year it might not have looked great productively, statistically speaking, but he improved. Like he wasn't just trying to be this athlete that could win because he was strong and fast. He like was becoming more of a technically sound player. As long as he keeps building on that, now he gets to, split reps with Abdul Carter or, run with Abdul Carter. Hopefully, ideally he also is able to kind of break out along with Carter. Then that defensive line would be horrifying. My last breakout candidate, I listened to the pronunciation of his name earlier, and now I'm forgetting it.
What team does he play for?
The Patriots. Kaylavon Chason, I think. No.
Oh, we're going on the Kaylavon Chason train.
Yes, we are.
Oh my God, you're 8 years too late. I was on the Kaylavon Chason train in like 2018. I was so in. It was like the first year I started scouting, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best player I've ever seen. Then he would just get like beaten into the dirt.
Yes.
Every play because he was too weak. But hopefully he's stronger now.
Well, he did match his rookie year sack total, which was 5 this past season. And finally, it looked like there was some spark last year, like that explosiveness that we saw in college. Like it looked like there was actually something there in Kaylavon. And he was actually a potential Bills option throughout this free agency cycle. And I would have been kind of excited to see if we would have been able to tap, knowing the Bills, no, he would have just fizzled out. But with New England, especially with Milton Williams on the inside, they're going to be getting a ton of interior pressure with Barmore and Williams. I'm so excited to watch the Patriots D-line. But similar to Keon White, I was like thinking maybe I'll throw Keon on here. But the more I thought about Kaylavon, I'm like, this is the definition of a breakout candidate. A guy that just had a good enough season that you can't say it was good, but it gives you hope. And if he builds on it, that is the pure definition of breakout. So
that was like the first time in my experience where I think I did fall for a drip merchant. I'm like, He wasn't even that good. I'm just like, he has the potential. Like, he wasn't even productive in college. I'm just like, he looks good. Every once in a while, he wins a rep really quick. And he looked good doing it. So I'm like, yeah, he's a first rounder all the way. And then he ended up being really bad. But you never know. I've been praying for it because I was the biggest believer in him 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Legitimately 5. Like, that was when he was drafted 5 years ago.
Yes, he's been around for a bit, and now he gets to play with Mike Vrabel too. I think will play to his benefit.
I mean, who did he play with? Jacksonville, the Panthers. Like, who the hell else did he play for?
The Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah. All teams where like he never really got much of a chance, and they all suck.
Yes, exactly. I think that was also the big problem too. They just all blow.
Not like the Patriots are great right now, but they have potential to be
breakout team, breakout defense.
Maybe a breakout team, yeah.
So
I'm in the Cardinals. Breakout defense.
All right, those are breakout candidates. What do you want to go to next?
I don't even want to do regression. I feel like I'm just
either.
going to say the same names. The only name worth a damn is like Kyle Van Noy because he's just old as shit. And he had 14 sacks. And I'm like, he just can't do it again.
Yeah.
Mike Green, if he doesn't go to jail, will probably steal his reps. So that's like the only thing I have in that's worth anything.
Yeah, Khalil Mack only because he's quite literally the age of a dinosaur. Like, he has to decline at some point. So
he's as strong as a dinosaur, though. Like,
he is.
He just kind of looks like one. Like his head, but also like I bet if you like shot him, it would barely hurt. Like he just like has like the reptile skin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I don't think it would hurt him that bad.
That's funny. Well, yeah, I mean he is a monster, like literally. And he also had drip when he was playing with Vegas. Even now, like he had that face mask. He had that face mask. It wasn't the same face mask he had at Buffalo, but it was similar, didn't he? In Vegas,
it was Cage like.
Yes,
that like the old Peyton Hillis cage, the Ray Lewis cage.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll skip the regret.
I should put Ray Lewis in a cage. He definitely killed those people. Yeah. He definitely did
it. Yeah, him. Well, we know Hernandez killed those people.
I was reading about Ray Lewis the other day because I was talking to a Ravens fan and I was like making fun of him because all of his favorite players hurt or kill people.
Yeah.
I was like, Ray Lewis definitely did it. I did more research and now I'm actually convinced.
Who are the top 5? They definitely did it players.
I know. What's the criteria here? I'm trying to think of NFL crimes in the first place. Like
Big Ben has got to be on the list.
Oh my God, he did it. Yeah,
Big Ben is on the list.
Big Ben did it. I mean, we kind of know OJ did it. That was kind of confirmed already. Like everyone else we saw Zach Stacy do it. Yeah. He beat up his girlfriend like the tiniest apartment. That was rough.
Wasn't there something that happened with Le'Veon Bell recently?
I don't know about recently. I remember him and LeGarrette Blount got arrested for like smoking in a car together like 10 years ago, but I don't know.
LeGarrette Blount definitely punched that guy.
Yeah, I saw that. The Boise State player in the face. Yeah.
He definitely punched him.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a couple.
We could just do top 10 in the league today.
Okay. Yeah, we might as well keep stemming on the current players.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think this one will be better ripped off backwards, starting from 10.
Okay. I'll start. My top 10 edge rushers go as follows. At 10, I do have Jonathan Grenard. I think, 80 pressures per PFF is fucking ridiculous, no matter if you're playing with, the Patriots 2 years ago or if you're playing with the fucking Avengers. 80 pressures is 80 pressures. Will Anderson is my 9. Freakishly athletic. He is a great run defender. I am excited. I think, talk about a guy that we've still yet to see the best of. I think Will Anderson is certainly that. I have TJ Watt at 8.
Whew, damn.
Sorry to all of the Pittsburgh fans out there. You cannot convince me that a guy is still top 5 when there were I saw so many graphics all year long. TJ Watt, 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 this. It's like 0. Like
Cody Ford had TJ Watt in prison in the biggest game of their season last year. Steelers needed a win.
Yeah,
They didn't even need a win. They just needed to like knock the Bengals out of the playoffs, and they couldn't do it because Cody Ford had him in prison.
And he was just gone, like nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to
So,
be found. Like I forgot he was playing.
like, it was almost like DK Metcalf-esque. Like, where the fuck are you? Like the Invisible Act.
Yeah, it was him and George Pickens both disappeared in the exact same game. And that's why we won.
At 7, I have Jared Verse. You can probably put him even higher, honestly, but the guy's a phenom as a rookie. There's not really much explanation needed. At 6 is where I have Trey Hendrickson. I do think I almost think you can maybe fit him in the regression candidate conversation because of how good of a season he had at his age. I think he could replicate it, but if he does, there's like one more year of it. And then, we'll probably see a slight decline, but still 18 sacks or whatever he had. He led the league in pressures. He basically had like the triple crown of edge rushing statistics. So whatever those are in your opinion. But at 5, I have Nick Bosa. I feel like he silently had a better season than people know. Like, I think everyone just kind of thought the 49ers sucked, so no one had a good year or everyone had a down year. Nick Bosa was an exception to that. He was he was like really their only effective pass rusher on a consistent basis, if we're being honest. Like, there was Leonard Floyd on the other side, but other than that, they really didn't have much else. At 4 is where I have Aiden Hutchinson. The guy played 5 games. He was top 10 in pressures until like week 11. Like, that is insane. He was so obviously going to be the defensive player of the year until he got hurt. And I was so upset when he did because he was my pick, my prediction to be the decoy. And he fucking got hurt. Like, he was dominating football games. And it sucked. And his leg was snapped in half like a piece of celery, and now we don't know if it would be the same.
Oh, well.
At 3 is where I have Max Crosby. I think kind of to what we were saying earlier, he's always been a good pass rusher, but this year I felt like he kind of unlocked even farther in terms of being, one of the best edge rushers in football. At 2 is Micah Parsons. Another guy that missed like 4 games, but he had 70 pressures in 13 games. Had he played all 17, he would have led the NFL in pressures. He had 14 sacks, which was tied for 3rd. Like, he even had a game in week 12 that I found where he had a qualifying pass rush win rate at defensive tackle. Like, what the fuck is going on in Dallas that's even happening? But the fact that he had a positive win rate as a D-tack, like, what can't that motherfucker do? Like, he is a maniac. He just gotta relax with the podcast stuff. He's a little bit of a talker.
He is, but that's partially what makes him him. He's kind of insane.
Yeah,
and he shit talks a lot. It appears to work, so
that is true.
I'll allow it.
They drafted. What was the lineman they drafted? They drafted Tyler Booker, and he was like live streaming during it.
Oh yeah,
and they drafted him, and he had no reaction because he was silently fuming. But then they got him on like the live stream after the fact, and Tyler Booker is going on this like tirade about how he wants to rip people's hearts out, like murder people. And Mike is like bouncing in his chair, getting all excited. So I think he ended up liking Booker, but his reaction was funny. And number 1 is, of course, Myles Garrett, quite possibly the most freaky athlete we've seen in the last like 15 years.
He's being paid quarterback numbers. Like, legitimately is being paid. Like, his payment 5 years ago would have been expensive for almost every quarterback. Like, it's actually ridiculous how much he's getting paid, but he is the best defender in the world, in my opinion. So
it's not even opinion. It's objective fact that Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in the league.
Yes. Yeah. So, spoiler, I do share Myles Garrett at number 1, but I will still go in reverse. Number 10 is where I put Jared Verse, only because the numbers can't really back it up. But when you see it, you know it. Like, when you saw Jared Verse taking over games, dominating in the playoffs, like, for a rookie to be in the top 10 already is ridiculous. But he deserved it. Number 9, I have Danielle Hunter. He has just been a lock to get 12 plus sacks every season that he's been healthy. and he's only getting better. It kind of seems like it's really weird, but like he's probably touching 30 now, and he's already that good. At number 8 is where I put Will Anderson. I am extremely excited about Will Anderson. Like one of the freakiest athletes in the class. Good run defender, good pass rusher. He's a freak. I did change my list around from earlier. I put Trey Hendrickson down to 7 because I did have him in my regression candidates. And it's just like, I think I thought too much about the holdout. Like when players hold out, historically, they just always suck.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Like Hendrickson is partially also so good because he works so hard. He's constantly working. He's constantly like really good teammate. And he was already a rough run defender. He just kind of made up for it by being so productive as a pass rusher. But like if that weans at all, he's not that impactful. So I do have him at 7. Number 6 is where I put Nick Bosa. It's kind of just like a recency bias thing. A lot of the other guys have just been more impactful recently. But Nick Bosa has potential to be in that 2 to 3 range if he hits his peak again. And everyone I have from 2 to 6 is in like the exact same bucket. At number 5 is where I put Max Crosby. And that's also because the numbers just didn't have the argument to be there. Like he only had like 7 to 8 sacks last year. But like when you saw it, when you saw the run defense, when you saw how much gravity he holds on defense and how people like do their best to avoid him, that does matter. And that does count. At 5, or was that number 5? I think this is 5 now. Is it? Where the hell am I? I think I'm at 4.
Aren't you looking at your list? Yeah, it's 4.
Yes. 4. Max Crosby was at 5. I put TJ Watt at 4.
Boo.
I can't disrespect him too hard. He still was like the most dominant run defender in the NFL last year. Like there was a stat where like people ran to his side 3 times and then he punched the ball out and forced fumble 3 different times, all for tackles for loss. Like he is an absolute behemoth when it comes to run defense and, taking down quarterbacks who are trying to run. And he still is a good pass rusher. Like we can't act like he's just out here like as a straight bum. Like he was
cardio.
What?
He was doing cardio.
Hey, he did have better stats than Max Crosby last year. I do give him that.
Yeah, he played 6 more games or whatever.
He still had better stats. It does matter. Availability is the best ability.
He's not available either. He's lucky he even played 17 games this year.
He had 19 sacks last year.
What?
Yeah. Not this year, like the year before.
Oh, yeah.
He still had like 12 this year, but it just wasn't the same Watt that we're used to. But like any guy that just had 22.5 sacks like 3-4 years ago is like, I can't disrespect him too hard, especially when they are like, if it was Trey Hendrickson, maybe because he can't stop the run. But like TJ Watt is like an S tier run defender. So I still have him at 4. Aiden Hutchinson, I have at 3. And I damn near put him at 2, but the injury kept him down.
Mm.
If he was still healthy, I would put Hutchinson at 2. But he looks broken. Like those pictures, like those videos of him running and trying to cut on the field with that shattered leg, it looks broken.
Yeah.
So I am really worried about it, but I'm not going to try and play doctor here. I still have him at 3. Micah Parsons 2. There's no one in the league that can do what he does. Like Myles Garrett, as great as he is, cannot be out here like playing middle linebacker, dropping off into coverage like Micah Parsons can, moving around the formation, but also no one can do what Myles Garrett can do, which is just dominate a game from start to finish, every single play, no matter who's playing left tackle. The only way to stop him is if you just guard him with 3 people or Laramie Tunsil in the playoffs. But either way, like Myles Garrett is the best defender in the NFL, undisputed.
Yeah, that will somehow be controversial.
It somehow will. Someone's going to tell me Pat Surtain and Kyle Hamilton are better.
Yeah.
And I will beat them to death with a shovel for challenging me like that. Like,
yeah, well, I already know I'm going to have a hit put on my head for my TJ Watt take.
I felt 4 was low because like he just didn't have the stats to back it up recently. It also just didn't look that crazy good. But apparently it's going to be controversial. Well,
whatever is right. All right. That was fun. I always enjoy doing the top 10 edge rushers because it always changes, but you can't ever really be that wrong, but you still can. Like for receivers, there's an extent to where you really can't be wrong with a lot of those guys, but like for edge rushers, like I think you can be.
Well, with receivers, you can be like you can do the old Like, oh, but if he had a quarterback, if he had a
Yes.
quarterback, like you can do that, or be like, his offensive coordinator was trash. It's all their
Yeah.
fault. Like you can make as many excuses as you want, but edge rushers, it's like it's you versus them,
Hmm.
and like you need to go make a play, and that's all
Right.
it is. Like you don't need the ball thrown to you. You just need to go like beat the guy in front of you,
Yes.
and like my list was kind of based off of who did that the most and who did it consistently
Yes.
and recently.
Well, speaking of the two guys, I was telling Austin before the show that I was going back and forth between two guys for like 20 minutes when making my list, and it was between Grenard and Hunter. I could
Mhm.
not for my fucking life decide who I wanted to put at number 10. And I had Hunter written down for like 4 minutes, and then I erased it and put Grenard. And then I erased Grenard and put Hunter back. And I ended up going with Grenard just purely based off of, I think, a combination of age and he going from, like you said, he was in Houston to start with. That's kind of where he broke out, and then he earned that payday and ended up in Minnesota. So I ended up going with Grenard, but Hunter could easily have been my 10. I could have
Yeah.
flipped a coin.
I also almost had like if I had number 11, it was Grenard.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing. They put up the exact same stats. It's just like mine was less of like a Grenard's younger, give it to him. Mine was more of like almost like a respect thing. Like Daniil's done it for this long, give him the nod. Next year it could be Grenard, but yeah, Grenard's a badass. Like people need to learn that name a little bit more often.
Yeah. If they haven't already, then they're just not watching. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, but some people act like he's like couldn't touch Brian Burns or something, but like he's actually so much better than Brian Burns. It's crazy. All right.
Let's move on here. There's a category I want to do here too that I put some thought into, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. What is it?
And it's not our edge rusher category. It's got to be our non-football category.
Okay.
It's got to be the top 5 kids shows.
So mine wasn't quite kids shows. It was shows I watched in my childhood.
Well, yeah, that's okay. So is Family Guy gonna be on here?
No, but it could be like it could like it doesn't have to be like Bubble Guppies. It could be like something that like you watched with your dad. If you had Deadliest Catch on there for some reason, like by all means, like,
that's insane. But okay.
I did not put it on there, but if you had that, like that counts too.
So I'll rephrase our top 5 shows that we watched growing up.
Yes,
that's what
because that's a little bit more appropriate because I don't condone like maybe 1 or 2 of these for children, but I did watch them as a child, which makes sense why I'm shaped the way I am today.
Okay, I gotta know what this list is then.
Okay, well, number 1, it's not one of those. River Monsters. Jeremy Wade from River Monsters is the best at anything of any person in the world. He had to quit his show because he caught them all. He was that fucking good at it. Like Jeremy Wade from River Monsters is a 10 out of 10 watch every season. No bad episodes. Easily.
That might be a top 10 like human ever. Like to be able to be so good at something that you just quit because you can't do anything else.
Yeah, like it's the same way people yell Kobe when they shoot. I yell fish on every single time that I go fishing or I catch anything. It's the same exact thing. It's out of respect for just being the GOAT.
All right, that's a good one.
I did put Chowder on here as well. A little bit weirder of a show. Chowder was so good.
No!
Chowder was so good. Him and his girl Panini.
Weird, dude.
Chowder was weird, but it was great. I don't like recommend that for children all the time. It was kind of weird, but like Schnitzel was a badass. Panini was weird. Like it was a good show. It was worth a watch. I did put Scooby-Doo on here to be a little bit boring. But Scooby-Doo, whether or not you watch the 60s version or you watch like the 90s What's New Scooby-Doo or the live action movies, either way, they're all 10 out of 10. No bad episodes. And number 4, I put Regular Show.
Yes, finally.
Absolute trip. Regular Show is so funny. Like trying to explain the plot of a Regular Show episode. Like there was an episode where like they had to teach a horse how to pass a U.S. history test, or else the world exploded. Like it was so stupid, but it was so good.
Oh my
and
God.
Then number 5, I had Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Okay, that's good.
That dog was a little freak. Like well, people thought he was crying because he was scared. No, he was crying because he was worried about what he was about to do to you. Like he would mess you up, and he felt terrible about it, but he'd do it anyways.
Oh my god, that's a good list. I'm glad regular show got mentioned because
Regular show, I watch to this day. I just canceled my HBO subscription, but I'm gonna get it back at some point and watch it again.
If you missing out on regular show has to be like so like kids nowadays have no idea what they missed out when it comes to
No,
regular show.
it's so funny, and like every episode is a different trip.
It's always a banger every time.
I love Benson. The side characters too. Muscle Man, Benson, Skips, Pops, everybody. Like Skips had like the craziest lore.
Yeah, I know.
And
right?
it was also Mark. I'm pretty sure it was Mark Hamill was the voice actor for that. Luke Skywalker. Like
really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was like really weird show. Worked on every level.
All right, my top 5 shows. I'm going to give some honorable mentions here to some that maybe, well, one specifically I came across when doing research for this, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, I forgot this even existed. So, well, one of my honorable mentions has to be Jimmy Neutron.
Fair.
I love Jimmy Neutron. That show it's such an OG show. Sheen was hysterical, although I think Carl was funnier.
Carl Weezer is one of my favorite characters in all of TV. Jimmy's mom. I love when he does that every time.
So I thought Jimmy Neutron deserved to mention. Almost in the same vein of the Courage the Cowardly Dog era, I have Cat Dog. Did you watch insane. Cat Dog?
I remember the mouse from Cat Dog because I have a friend that I said looked like the mouse from Cat Dog. That's all that I remember really from that show. But
I enjoyed some Cat Dog on occasion. Like it wasn't something that I would like always watch, but like anytime it was on and I was really in the mood for Cat Dog, I loved Cat Dog.
Fair.
The other honorable mention that I have, and this show like scratched the deepest point of my brain. Like I didn't even know I still remembered about the show until I saw it. Have you ever heard of Legends of the Hidden Temple?
I've heard of it, but I never watched that. No.
It was a Nickelodeon game show, and like,
oh yes, I have. It was
yes.
It wasn't animated, right?
No, it was a live action.
Yes, I remember this. This was like terrible but good at the same time.
Yeah, it's like honestly I only mention it now because I don't think anyone remembers it. I'm not sure if there's a soul out there that would ever mention this show.
I think I remember it because I think I had a friend that had like a physical game from that show. Like he had like a board game or something.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah, like that's the only reason I remember it. I think there was a board game.
Yeah, I mean I barely remember the show. I just remember like bits and pieces of it because I had to have been like 5. Like
I'm thinking about like I thought of House of Anubis the other day, and I was like, holy shit, these are some throwbacks. I know.
Oh man! All right, so my actual top
your actual list, yeah.
All right. Oh wait, I have one more honorable. So this is my first.
Right, we're doing 9. Mention. We're doing 9 now. Top 9 TV shows.
All right. My number 6 is The Fairly Odd Parents. That has to have been mentioned. I can't even fucking remember his name, and I'm saying how much I love this. The fucking the green fairy. Fuck, what's his fucking name?
Oh, it was
Cosmo.
Cosmo and Wanda. Yes. Mr. Crocker.
Yes. Talk about a show with great side characters. That show had great characters.
Doug Dimmadome.
Yes, Doug Dimmadome's like a top 5 side character ever. At number 5, though, I have Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Understandable.
That show was like one of the few shows geared for kids that actually had like a super in-depth plot and storyline and something to follow on a episode by episode basis. Like you couldn't just pick up Avatar halfway through season 3 and know what the fuck was going on. No. Usually that's the case. That's not the case with shows that children watch, but that show has to be on here. At 4, I have Drake and Josh.
Yeah.
I every time Drake and Josh was on, I watched it. Like some of these other shows, sometimes I had to be in the mood or I'd pick one over the other at times, but anytime Drake and Josh was on, I was putting on Drake and Josh. At number 3 is Back at the Barnyard. Please tell me you watched Back at the Barnyard.
Oh, what was the name of the tiny? Was it Uncle Mike, the tiny little dancing character that they had in the box?
don't remember.
Yes, it was like Wild Mike. Yes, it was Wild Mike. Had like the best dance moves of any character in history,
That
and the saddest scene and also in history.
I don't even remember.
You remember when the dad the dad cow saying "I won't back down" as he fought off the coyotes?
I think okay, yes, I do remember that episode.
That was his demise.
One of the funniest scenes ever from a show came from back at the barnyard. It was the when the old guy and the wife were in the house, and she says something like, "What's that noise outside?" And he goes,
Yeah, it's a cow farm.
Oh, yes, it's a cow farm. There gonna be cows outside. Yes.
Yes, look up Wild Mike. I found him. Yes.
Okay, hold on.
I can't believe that was off the top of my head. Wild Mike.
I know what.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking it up now. Oh my god! What the fuck? How'd you know his name?
I don't know.
That's insane. Holy shit! What the fuck?
It's so funny.
How did you know that? Honestly, I forgot that he was even a character. I didn't even know he had a fucking name. Wow, that was crazy.
That's good. That's a good pull, though. That's a great show.
Yes, that show's forgotten about. I almost forgot about it. I'm glad I didn't. Oh, and then there was the fat kid, the fat snotty boy kid.
Yeah, well, that show came on like right before Ben 10, I'm pretty sure, which is why I ever watched it.
Yeah. All right. My number 2 is also a regular show. I don't think anybody that's watched regular show, I don't think they would leave it off their top 5.
No. I watch it to this day.
Yeah.
That's why it's how funny it is.
I think the Fuzzy Dice episode is probably my favorite. Yes. That episode was awesome. I remember I had that episode saved on my phone.
Really?
For the longest time, and I would just watch it like on road trips and stuff because it was just one of my favorite episodes of a show ever. And I talk about a show I still watch, not to this day because I don't replay the good ones, but SpongeBob has to be on here.
Yeah.
I think SpongeBob it's gotten better as I've gotten older. And I know this is not an unpopular or an uncommon sentiment, but it literally has. Like some of the scenes of SpongeBob resonate so much better now that I'm older. And some of the things that I didn't even understand at the time are just hysterical now. And for that fact, it's number 1, but also just because of how good of a show it really was. Like,
I love that.
It has to be SpongeBob. I think comfortably SpongeBob too. Like it's not.
Yeah, it was almost like too popular for me to pick it, but I do agree. I was trying to get more into the weeds a little bit. Other than Scooby Doo, I was like Courage, River Monsters. Like those are my OGs.
River Monsters. Funny you mentioned Deadliest Catch because I did watch Deadliest Catch with my father growing up. So
yeah,
kind of funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Deadliest Catch. What were the other shows like that? There was
It was that stuff from like the Discovery Channel.
Yes.
Let me look at best shows.
There was
remember people like cared about like Gold Rush and other stupid stuff, but I never watched any of those.
Did you ever watch like the
Man vs. Wild? Oh yeah.
Man vs. Wild? I don't know if
with Bear Grylls. Yes.
Of course I know Bear Grylls. I just don't know if I ever watched it.
So good. So good.
All right. Let's finish off the edge rushers. We got off track. That was fun, though. I love talking about stupid shit like that. Regular show deserves like something in the Hall of Fame or something. Like throw it in the Hall of Fame somewhere. I don't know what Hall of Fame, but
I don't either, but
throw it in there.
Yeah. Skip's got it.
All right. The last 2 categories that we have for edge rushers are the top 5 edge rushers of all time, which we could stick to quick because I feel like we won't have much variance here.
Maybe.
I didn't go too crazy.
I don't know if I did either. I didn't look at any lists. I just went off the top of my head. So this might be way off from consensus. I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, you go first then.
All right. So number 1, I don't think it should be too crazy to have Lawrence Taylor.
No, it's not.
As the best. He's like the Micah Parsons argument where it's like he might not have all the stats that you need, but like turn on a game.
Yeah.
Like he was terrifying. Like drinking Listerine, doing lines of coke, calling strippers to the opposing team's locker room. Like he did everything in his power to win, and he did. Number 2, I have Reggie White, who is like probably like not even pound for pound, just straight up like the strongest dude to ever play football. Like I don't know if you ever seen that clip of him picking up. I don't know who he picked up, but he threw somebody with one full arm and threw him into the quarterback.
Yep.
That was disgusting. Number 3, I have Bruce Smith from the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, all-time NFL sack leader. Very close to putting him at 2. And if it wasn't for aura, you could argue him for number 1 in terms of pure production ever. But Lawrence Taylor has the aura to stay at number 1 forever. 4, I have Deacon Jones, kind of like the OG. Got to give out one to the OG every once in a while. He had a move that was banned because he used to smash both of his arms into the tackle's head and like concuss him immediately. So they had to ban that move. And then number 5, I went modern. I put Julius Peppers on there.
Okay.
He's one of the NFL's all-time sack leaders too, which no one cares about because he only played for bum teams forever. But he did drag a Carolina team extremely far multiple times as a defensive end, and no one's done that in a long time.
Yeah.
I almost put a different name on here, but he just didn't play long enough.
Who?
JJ Watt. Pound for pound, I think JJ Watt is probably better than 2 of these people, but he just doesn't have like the all-time stats to be on here.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I have him on here. So my number 1 was Lawrence Taylor. He was a legitimate psycho. Reggie White for aura purposes. Like I was gonna put Bruce Smith over him because I'm a Bills fan, but
you can't.
His nickname was literally the Minister of the Defense. Like,
yeah,
that is fucking
Minister
insane.
of Defense is the coolest nickname I've ever heard in my life.
Yes, so he has to be 2 by default. 3 was also Bruce Smith. I put JJ Watt at 4. Like, he might have had the greatest peak of an individual player in history. Like,
yeah, that was like my Gronk argument where I'm like, yeah, might not have the all-time stats, but like if you're picking peak for peak, JJ Watt's might be number 1, like in terms of peak, like 20 plus sacks, multiple pick sixes, running corner routes in the red zone. Like no one's doing that.
Yeah, like it was such a good peak that it triumphs like the all-time stuff for me. Whereas like for Gronk, I don't think his peak was good enough to triumph the other production and the other things that like a guy like Travis Kelce did. But in this case, like JJ Watt's peak was so fucking good. It was like literally beyond being an edge rusher. It was just a pure football.
He was
player.
Their defense. Like he carried their defense and their offense at times.
Yes, like literally, I did everything.
Yes, insane.
And at number 5, I did put Deacon Jones on there as well.
Respect Deacon.
Pretty similar list.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty damn similar.
Yeah,
JJ Watt's just like hard to put on because it's like his stats are like nothing compared to the other guys. But it's just like the legend of JJ Watt. You had to be there. You had to be there to see it. Like he was the face of the NFL. Him and Luke Kuechly on defense were the face of the NFL for a little while. It was awesome.
Well, on that note, we'll talk about our last category, and these are our top 5 personal favorite edge rushers. So these have the criteria is completely up to us because they're personal favorites. So
yeah,
a lot of these guys for me are players that were maybe a former Bill or someone that I loved in Madden. That's where a lot of this comes from for me.
Where 2 of mine came from.
So this is not in any order, and I did cheat, but I don't know if we're going to do interior defensive linemen for the series, so I threw them on here anyway. I went with Fletcher Cox. I love Fletcher Cox had an X Factor card in like 2022 or something like that. I would literally play dime and put Fletcher Cox at nose, and he would stop the run by himself 3-on-1 every time. And I would play in franchise mode with my friends, and they wouldn't like want me to draft Fletcher anymore because I would just run the same defense because I'd let Fletcher be the entire D line.
Yeah.
And he was that good.
You can't cheat with a D tackle. Cheating at number 1 is insane.
Yeah, I know. I cheated. These are all edge rushers, though. My next is Olivier Vernon.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Olivier Vernon. I was even a fan. He wasn't the best in real life, but
No, he was
still
good for like a day.
yeah, he was good for a little bit. He had a very short peak, but in Madden, I was a big fan of him. I always was picking him up on my franchise teams. A guy that applies to both real life and Madden is Bud Dupree. I
Hmm.
I loved Bud Dupree. I wanted Bud Dupree to be a Bill for a short time while he was bouncing around teams at the end of his career. But wherever he went, he always was an impactful true pass set edge rusher. So he he was good both in the game and in real life. Jerry Hughes makes this list for me. Jerry Hughes, he just was good. He was just good for so long. He was very embraced in Buffalo. Everyone loved him. So, and even when he went on to play for Houston for the last 2 years or whatever, he was actually good. Ironically, so I think Jerry Hughes deserves my respect in this regard because he was just I have his jersey in my closet. I love Jerry.
Really?
Yeah.
I have one jersey and it's Tyler Eifert and it doesn't fit. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not a big jersey guy, but Jerry Hughes is
Not
one
either.
of the few that I
It's
have.
an interesting jersey. Yeah.
Yes. And my last guy that makes this list is Ezekiel Ansah.
Ziggy, yeah.
Yes. So
That was a while ago.
yes. So those are my five. My five very random and uncorrelated favorite edge rushers.
Yeah.
D tackles.
My favorite of all time is JJ Watt. I had to get him on my list somewhere. He was the most fun I've ever had watching a single football player in my entire life. I still go back and watch him all the time. And he destroyed the Bengals in the playoffs, like on multiple occasions. Number 2, I have Jason Taylor from the Dolphins. I wanted to put I almost put Cameron Wake on here too.
Yeah, I almost did.
It's so much fun. But Jason Taylor, because on my college visit to Akron, all they talked about was Jason Taylor the entire time. They talked about that and zippers over and over and over again. But Jason Taylor, like after that, I was like, I need to watch this guy's film. And I watched so much. Also, the father of Mason Taylor, the new Jets tight end. So that's an interesting one. I also put, he's kind of like in between linebacker and edge, but he rushed the passer a ton. Lorenzo Alexander. It was so much fun to watch. And he was like never that talented. He just played so damn hard all the time. And he was never that good at any one thing. But that dude was just a bullet. Like there was a short period of time where Lorenzo Alexander was just a bullet. And it was so much fun. And then I had 2 guys that played for the same team at the exact same time. And I loved them both. Ryan Kerrigan and Brian Orakpo. Both two Washington Redskins in like the early 2010s. And Brian Orakpo is one of the scariest looking dudes I have ever seen in my life. While Ryan Kerrigan was like not scary looking at all, but he was so good for so long.
Yeah.
That was back when nobody cared about the Redskins.
Those are the days. Those
Yes.
jerseys, those jerseys were so sick around that time period.
Yeah.
And those 2 guys rocked it, and they were so good together. They were one of the best duos of that short time period.
Yeah, like I remember someone bringing up Brian Orakpo the other day, and I like my brain froze. I was like, I haven't heard that name in years.
Yeah, Brian Orakpo is one of those guys that should be on one of those TikTok slideshows where it's like forgotten players that you haven't heard about in years, and it's always just like Giovanni Bernard, but it's like I've seen that on one of those like 7 times, so it's like I haven't forgotten about him anymore. We can stop putting Gio Bernard on these lists.
Yeah, he played like 3 years ago, like literally like with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and he was all the reporters hated him that one time in the locker room.
I remember that. What did he even? I don't think he even did anything wrong.
It was like a super aggressive, like a question, and Gio was like, "Whoa, like," and then they were all like, "Your job's to answer questions. What do you mean? Like that's your whole job as a football player." And he was like, "No, I'm gonna leave."
Yeah.
And they were being so aggressive towards him. They're like, "You owe us." He's like, "No, I don't."
I remember that. That was like the last time Gio Bernard was like talked about.
Gio Bernard is unironically my favorite running back in the history of the NFL. Like if I were to make a favorite running backs one, it's Gio Bernard.
That's crazy.
I love Gio Bernard.
That's insane, actually.
He's so much. His highlights are so much better than people remember.
Well, yeah, because all people remember are third down pass catching Gio Bernard. That's why.
Yeah, the Bengals Gio Bernard, monster, legit monster.
I feel like I wish we would have did this for running backs because I have a lot of running backs. But
Favorite running backs? I know.
yeah, for the interest of time, we'll cut it here. As always, if you enjoyed, definitely let us know what you guys resonate with down in the comments. Like your favorite edge rushers, who you'd build, your overrated, underrated. Let us know. If you enjoyed, as always, like, comment, subscribe, share. Check us out in the description. All of our socials are down there. Individual socials are down there as well. And we will see you in episode 38.
Something.